The scene opens on a blazing stage lit by harsh studio lights, the kind that expose every glance, every smirk, every tremor in a speaker's voice. The debate is live, broadcast globally, with millions glued to their screens. J.D. Vance leans forward in his chair, eyes sharp, lips curling into the smug grin of a man certain he owns the stage. The moderator barely finishes his question when Vance strikes. "You," he says, pointing a finger like a weapon at Ibrahim Traoré, "are nothing more than a pawn. A temporary figure in a game far larger than you. Leaders like you are tolerated, never respected. Without nations like mine, you don't even have a voice." His words cut with the cold arrogance of someone who believes history is on his side. The audience gasps softly, a ripple of unease spreading. Some nod in agreement with Vance, others whisper in disbelief at his blunt condescension. The camera shifts to Traoré, sitting tall, shoulders squared, his expression calm but eyes burning with restrained fire. He does not flinch. He does not smirk. Instead, he waits for the silence, letting Vance's words hang heavy, suffocating the stage. Then, in a voice deep, steady, and unyielding, Traoré replies, "Pawn?" He pauses, leaning slightly forward. "I am no pawn. I am the voice of a nation. The voice of millions who will never be silenced again. Your empire once dictated the terms, but those days are over. You mistake arrogance for strength, yet strength is proven by standing alone, not by hiding behind history's shadow." The hall erupts, half in applause, half in outrage. The moderator struggles to restore order, but the cameras capture what matters most. Vance's smirk falters, his eyes betraying the crack in his confidence. Traoré does not blink, his presence unshaken, his defiance electrifying. Across the world, viewers feel the shift. This is not the pawn versus the master. This is the colonizer's voice meeting the defiant roar of liberation, and for the first time, the roar drowns out the smirk. The studio is no longer calm, the atmosphere has turned into a battlefield of words. The moderator tries to steer the debate, but the tension between J.D. Vance and Ibrahim Traoré has swallowed the entire room. Vance, emboldened by his first attack, leans back with a smirk that reeks of superiority. His voice is dripping with condescension as he doubles down, "Your nation clings to illusions of independence. Without the systems we created, you'd collapse in weeks. History shows men like you come and go, but power stays where it belongs, with us." His tone echoes centuries of entitlement, as though the world's hierarchy was etched in stone by his kind. The audience is split, but their silence makes the insult louder. Cameras zoom in, broadcasting every flicker of arrogance across millions of screens. Traoré's jaw tightens, but his eyes remain steady, piercing through the facade. He doesn't rush. He allows Vance's venom to saturate the stage, and only then does he speak, slow, deliberate, like a blade unsheathing. "You speak of collapse as if you are the pillars of the world," Traoré begins, his voice calm yet thunderous in weight. "But pillars rot when they're built on stolen stone. We have endured centuries of chains, exploitation, and theft, and still we stand. Stronger. Louder. Freer." He shifts forward, his stare locking on Vance. "You mistake dependence for partnership. You mistake control for order. But make no mistake, we are not pawns in your game. We are the players rewriting it." The crowd ignites, some clapping furiously, others jeering in protest. But the energy has shifted unmistakably. Traoré's defiance reverberates beyond the stage. The live broadcast becomes more than a debate, it transforms into a symbolic clash between old power and rising resistance. Vance's smirk hardens, trying to hide the sting, but the camera betrays him. For the first time, he looks unsettled. The studio is on fire with tension. The moderator's attempts to restore order are drowned out by the roar of the audience, half in shock, half electrified. The clash between J.D. Vance and Ibrahim Traoré has evolved far beyond politics, it feels like history unfolding live on screen. Vance straightens his tie, the smirk returning, though it now looks forced. He leans toward the microphone, his words sharper, desperate to reclaim dominance. You dress defiance as dignity, but it's just rebellion without a cause. Men like you rise only to be remembered as footnotes, swallowed by the very world you claim to resist. America doesn't just shape nations, it erases the weak. And without us, you're already on borrowed time. The insult slices through the silence that follows. Cameras zoom in, capturing the smugness etched into Vance's face. The world waits for Traoré's response, knowing the young leader's words will either burn out or explode. Traoré doesn't flinch. He leans forward, shoulders squared, his voice steady but booming through the studio like a drumbeat. You speak of erasure as if you control history. But history isn't written by those who erase, it's written by those who endure. We are not footnotes. We are the chapter you fear to read. His tone sharpens, cutting through Vance's bravado. Your empire thrives on borrowed wealth, borrowed lives, borrowed lies. And yet, here we stand, not erased, not broken, but stronger, because every attempt to crush us only makes us rise higher. The audience erupts, some leap to their feet, cheering, chanting his name, while others boo, furious at the defiance. The split only amplifies the spectacle. On millions of screens across the world, Traoré's words echo like a battle cry. The moderator looks overwhelmed, almost lost in the storm. Vance shifts uncomfortably, his earlier arrogance cracking under the pressure. The camera catches it, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Traoré's presence has transformed the debate into something larger, not just politics, but a symbolic confrontation between a fading order and a new, unshakable voice. The studio now feels less like a debate hall and more like an arena. The crowd is divided, but the energy is undeniable, history is vibrating in the air. J.D. Vance, once confident, now looks cornered. His face tightens as he forces out one last jab, his voice strained but still laced with contempt. You think applause will shield you? You think loud words make you a leader? When the world turns cold, no chant will save you. You'll be forgotten, drowned out by the very powers you defy. America doesn't lose debates, it erases distractions. The audience gasps, some clapping, others hissing. The arrogance is there, but it feels brittle. The camera cuts instantly to Ibrahim Traoré. He doesn't rush. He lets silence hang, lets Vance's words suffocate in their own emptiness. Then, calmly, he begins, his tone slow, deliberate, commanding. You call us distractions because we refuse to kneel. You erase voices because you cannot defeat them. But know this, silence is never the same as surrender. We are not shadows fading into your empire's backdrop. We are the fire it cannot smother. His voice rises, each word echoing like a drumbeat. The chants you mock. They are not noise. They are nations waking up. They are children who will never again grow up believing they are less than anyone in this world. They are the sound of an age ending, and it is yours. The audience explodes. Cheers, whistles, a storm of applause floods the studio, so loud that the moderator gives up trying to calm the room. Cameras capture the eruption, the hashtags already exploding across social media, hashtag Traoré vs Vance, hashtag Voice of a Nation, hashtag History on Live TV. Vance shifts in his seat, lips pressed tight, eyes narrowed. The smirk that carried him through the night has vanished. Traoré sits tall, unmoved by the chaos around him, his words reverberating beyond the stage, beyond the cameras, into the hearts of millions watching. The debate is over. Not because time has run out, but because the weight of Traoré's voice has made every further word from Vance meaningless. The cameras are still rolling, the lights blazing hot, but the balance of power on that stage has already shifted. The moderator leans forward, nervously tapping his cards, unsure whether to cut the feed or let history unfold live. The crowd isn't quiet anymore, they're roaring, chanting Traoré's name, drowning out every attempt to restore order. J.D. Vance raises a hand, trying to reclaim authority. His jaw clenches as he spits his words into the microphone. You think this applause makes you a leader? It's just noise. When the stage lights turn off, you'll go back to obscurity, a forgotten figure from a forgotten land. America writes the scripts, America decides who matters. And tonight, you're nothing more than a sideshow. The audience groans, some booing outright. Vance's face reddens, his smirk no longer feels sharp but desperate. Traoré doesn't even blink. He leans slightly forward, his voice calm, almost quiet at first, but so sharp the silence falls again to hear him. Obscurity? Tell that to the millions watching right now. Forgotten? Tell that to the youth chanting in the streets, who see this moment as proof they no longer need permission to speak. You claim America decides who matters. Then explain to me this: why is the world listening to me, and not to you? He pauses, letting the weight sink in. Then, with unshakable steadiness, he finishes. You call it noise. I call it a movement. You call me a sideshow. But look around you, this stage is no longer yours. The eruption is immediate. Thunderous applause shakes the studio, chants echo louder than before. On social media, hashtags surge into the global trending list, hashtag Traoré vs Vance, hashtag this stage is ours, hashtag live TV history. Clips are already being cut, shared, dissected, immortalized. Vance lowers his eyes, visibly shaken. The camera zooms in on his hands, clasped tight, trembling slightly. Traoré, by contrast, sits tall, steady, unmoved, the storm of voices around him proof of a shift no network can edit out. This wasn't just a debate. It was a reckoning, and the audience, both inside the studio and across the world, knew exactly who had claimed the night. The debate stage feels less like a television studio now and more like an arena. The moderator's voice trembles as he urges the crowd to calm down, but no one listens. Every attempt to steer the conversation back on track only amplifies the tension. This is no longer about policy, it's about power, pride, and who will walk away as the dominant voice of the night. J.D. Vance leans forward, his tone sharpened like a blade. You're enjoying this spectacle, aren't you? The chants, the cameras, the illusion of importance. But let me remind you, when these lights go out, you'll return to a land struggling with poverty and instability. And while you boast here, it is America that funds, controls, and ultimately decides whether your voice even carries beyond your borders. Without us, you vanish into irrelevance. Gasps ripple across the audience. The arrogance is undeniable, but the words sting, aimed to corner Traoré and force him into silence. Instead, Traoré rises slightly from his chair. He doesn't shout. He doesn't rush. His eyes lock on Vance's with unshakable calm as he delivers his response. Struggling? Yes, we have struggled. But we struggle on our soil, for our people, and by our will. You think survival is weakness, but it is resilience. And you talk of funding and control as though shackles were gifts. Let me tell you this: irrelevance belongs to those who cling to past illusions of dominance. The world is watching tonight, and it is not me who vanishes when these lights go out. It is the empire of arrogance you represent. The studio explodes again, cheers, chants, applause so loud it drowns the microphones. Social feeds light up with clips, captions, and hashtags, hashtag Traoré claps back, hashtag Voice of Africa, hashtag Empire falls on Live TV. For the first time all night, Vance falters. His smirk disappears. He looks down, fiddling with his notes, his rehearsed lines now meaningless in the face of a man who has just turned the debate into a global moment. The world doesn't just see a debate anymore, they see a clash of eras. And in that clash, one voice stands taller, clearer, and impossible to silence. The studio lights feel hotter now, as if reflecting the tension on stage. The debate has escalated past rhetoric, every word, every gesture carries the weight of history. The audience, half holding their breath, half roaring with every exchange, knows they are witnessing something unforgettable. J.D. Vance, visibly frustrated by the crowd's growing favor toward Traoré, raises his voice. "You think you're making history tonight? This is a show. A performance. When it ends, America will still lead the world, and leaders like you will still call us before making a single move. That's reality. That's power. And no speech of yours changes that." The words land heavy, calculated to diminish not only Traoré but the entire notion of African sovereignty. Silence grips the room for a moment, then Traoré rises fully from his seat. His presence alone shifts the atmosphere. "Power," Traoré begins, his tone steady, each syllable echoing. "Power is not measured in cameras, nor in the size of one's military. Power is the bond between people and their land, between generations and their future. You confuse control with respect, domination with leadership. But the truth is simple: respect cannot be bought, and leadership cannot be imposed. What you call reality is only fear disguised as dominance." The audience erupts. Chants of "Traoré! Traoré!" drown out the moderator's pleas for order. Online, hashtags flood instantly, hashtag reality redefined, hashtag Traoré versus Vance, hashtag Africa speaks. For the first time, it's Vance who looks cornered. His smirk fades into tightened lips. The camera captures his unease, and millions of viewers notice. The debate isn't just about policies anymore, it's about who owns the narrative of the future. And in that moment, it becomes clear, the voice of a new era isn't coming from Washington's podium. It's coming from Ouagadougou. The tension in the hall is unbearable now, every word sharpened into a weapon. The moderator's attempts to restore order are drowned out by the roar of the crowd. The cameras zoom in, this is no longer just a debate. It has turned into a showdown, live before millions worldwide. Vance leans forward, his voice dripping with disdain. "You can stir the crowd all you want, but when the lights fade, you'll still be the leader of a forgotten country. Without us, you're nothing but noise, loud, but irrelevant." The audience gasps. The insult is naked, the contempt deliberate. But Traoré does not flinch. Instead, he locks eyes with Vance, calm yet blazing with conviction. Rising once more, he lifts his hand to silence the chants, his presence commanding absolute attention. "Forgotten?" Traoré responds, his voice resonant. "It is you who are forgetting. Forgetting that the world is not your stage. Forgetting that nations stand on their own feet, not by bowing to yours. If relevance is measured by submission, then keep it. We choose dignity. And dignity echoes longer than your applause, longer than your empires, longer than your threats." The words slice through the air like thunder. The audience explodes, some rising from their seats in applause, others stunned into silence. Across the globe, social media ignites, hashtag dignity over domination, hashtag Traoré versus Vance, hashtag echo of freedom. Vance tries to retort, but the cameras capture his hesitation. For the first time in the debate, he is not in control. His rehearsed confidence falters under the weight of Traoré's authenticity. The moderator finally intervenes, but it doesn't matter. The damage is done. Viewers everywhere know it, the supposed pawn has flipped the board, and the one mocked is the one who leaves with the last word. The debate feels less like a political forum and more like a battlefield of ideologies. Every exchange cuts deeper, every pause carries the weight of centuries. The studio lights glare down, illuminating not just two men, but two visions of the world colliding in real time. Vance narrows his eyes, his voice sharper now, more personal. "You think strong words make you powerful? Strength isn't in speeches. It's in wealth, in armies, in influence. And none of those belong to you. You're a leader today, gone tomorrow. That's the truth." The insult echoes, and the audience murmurs. It's a brutal dismissal, designed to reduce Traoré to a passing shadow in history. But Traoré only straightens his shoulders, and with a slow, deliberate tone, he answers. Truth? No, that's arrogance dressed as truth. Armies fall. Empires fade. Wealth vanishes like dust in the wind. But the strength of a people? That endures. You say I may be gone tomorrow, perhaps. But when tomorrow comes, my people will still be here. And their spirit will speak louder than your wealth, louder than your weapons, louder than your titles. The words ripple through the hall, igniting a thunderous response. Applause breaks out, chants rise from the crowd, and the energy shifts decisively. The cameras zoom in on Vance, his jaw tightens, his smirk disappears. For the first time, his silence is louder than his words. On social media, the clash trends instantly. Hashtag spirit over power, hashtag Traoré versus Vance, hashtag tomorrow belongs to us. Analysts scramble to capture the moment, commentators call it a turning point. The debate that was meant to belittle Traoré has instead elevated him to a global symbol of defiance. In that instant, it is clear, history will not remember the insult, it will remember the reply. The studio feels electric, the silence before the next words heavy, like a storm about to break. Every camera, every microphone, every spectator leans in closer. What began as a televised debate has morphed into something much greater, a duel between two worlds. Vance leans forward, his tone dripping with condescension. Your defiance makes good television, I'll give you that. But let's not pretend, it won't change your fate. Leaders like you burn fast, then fade into obscurity. Meanwhile, we, the ones who built the system, decide how long your story lasts. The statement lands like a hammer, a calculated attempt to strip Traoré of permanence. But instead of flinching, Traoré smiles, his voice calm yet powerful. You speak as if history is yours to write alone. But history is not owned, it is earned. Every nation, every people, earns their story with struggle, sacrifice, and resilience. You may control headlines, you may even erase names from your books, but you cannot erase a people's memory. You call me temporary? Perhaps. But the flame I carry has been burning for centuries, and it will burn long after your system is ashes. The hall erupts, not with polite applause, but with thunderous cheering. Chants ripple from the audience, spilling into the streets, amplified by millions watching worldwide. Hashtags flood across social media. Hashtag history is ours, hashtag Traoré fire, hashtag system versus spirit. Vance adjusts his tie, his smirk gone, his eyes betraying the unease of a man whose words no longer dominate the room. The duel he thought he controlled has slipped away. And in that moment, the world sees more than a debate, it sees the birth of a symbol. Traoré's defiance is no longer just an answer, it is a declaration to every nation still silenced, every people still underestimated. Tonight wasn't just about two voices clashing on a stage. It was about a truth the world can no longer ignore: power without justice is fragile, and arrogance cannot silence a nation's will. What we witnessed here is not the humiliation of one man, but the awakening of millions who refuse to be dismissed. History is not written in boardrooms or dictated from podiums, it is carried forward by the courage of those who dare to speak when they are told to be silent. And make no mistake, what began as a debate has now become a movement. A movement that reminds us, respect is not granted by empires, it is claimed by the people.